Hello, I'm Slim Dykman. This is part of my story.
The guys and dolls for the fillies. Petrudo back a length. They're almost ready to run. The light is on. Racing and Shanti Rainbow and Miss Pen Melnick out wide came out very quick. Stylish time. Shanti Rainbow and Qatari Fury into the clear, but it's a mile too late. Happy Heldon is gapping them, racing away in the run to the judge. Happy Heldon is a big winner of the guys and dolls. Happy Heldon first, Qatari Fury second.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a great thrill to win this classic, and it's certainly a sign of the times that the Albion Park can run two of these $10,000 races on the one program. I'd like to thank the sponsors very much indeed. It's a major thing for us to get sponsorship.
Slim, thanks for your time, mate. It's a privilege for me. I know that I'm doing the first interview with Slim Dykman since 1992 when you retired. It's a long time. It's 23 years since the Slim Dykman story was unravelled and people coming to get used to asking you about your time in harness racing, and I think a lot of it gets lost in the journey, the experience that you've had, the journey that you've been on, and the success that you've had as a horse trainer and owner as well. So thanks for your time, and I understand that you first began your interest in harness racing in the Canterbury district in New Zealand?
That's so. Yes, I was actually a professional horseman, more or less, on sheep and cattle stations, and I got involved with trotting because I was a horse breaker.
Yep. And then you went to Jim Dalgetty, one of the famous names of New Zealand harness.
Yes,
so it was pretty good start for you to get involved with that stable.
It helped me to see the racing side of horsemanship rather than what I'd been with, was all riding horses.
Yeah. And then you decided to go out on your own and take the chance and buy your first horse, which you paid the grand sum of $1,000 for
that's right.
in New Zealand at a dispersal sale.
Yes.
I do know the name of Robert Cameron, who had a fair bit of success in harness racing in New Zealand. And he could get this horse to run a nice quarter in about 36 seconds. Then you come along and think, well, I reckon I can do a little bit better with that horse. And his first 5 starts, you were pretty impressive.
This is one of the technicalities of racing, that a lot of horses are broken in as pacers when in actual fact they've got trotter's muscle formation. And they just will not go much good as pacers until somebody realises this horse ought to be trained as a trotter. And that is why Scotch Star became a trotter.
Very much indeed. Yes, it is indeed a thrill to win it. We won the last race for 87 and we've won the first open class race for 88, so that's quite an amazing thing really.
On the outsider, it's Caparel and Chantilly Rainbow. Toothpick battling on well on the fence from Easy Lover. It's Caparel in front, Chantilly Rainbow on the outside. Caparel and Chantilly Rainbow, they come to the line locked together. Chantilly Rainbow. Chantilly Rainbow's got Caparel and third home Country Capers, then Tiffany Les Toothpicker. They were followed in by Easy.
So the horse we're talking about that you paid $1,000 for, Slim, wasn't just any racehorse in the end. It had the name of Scotch Tar, which won 5 races in its first season for you, and actually held its own, well, more than held its own against the pacers as well as a trotter. Now we talk about some of the races you won with it. 29 races in total, including free-for-alls against open class pacers, which is just outstanding and an amazing statistic that a horse could be that good to race against the pacers. But you also won 2 Dominion handicaps, the Dunedin Cup, 2 New Zealand trotting free-for-alls, a heat of the Inter-Dominion, 2 Benson Hedges Cups, you know, so any of those stand out for you that you'd like to talk about?
Probably the first time he won the Dominion Handicap, because he broke Ordeal's world record in that race.
And how'd that go? What was you drove that race?
No, Bob Cameron drove that race.
I have read a little bit of a story as well though, mate. There was a race at Forbury, I'm not sure if you remember, where you sat...
I remember it only too well.
Where you sat 4 wide, they reckon, for the first half of the race.
He bolted on me.
And then you eased into 3 wide to give him a little bit of a spell. And the horse still won.
I've never been so angry with a horse in my life.
And to your credit though, they reckon you came back to scale and apologised for driving like a cowboy, but it really wasn't quite your fault. The horse just took off, but still raced 4 wide, 3 wide, and still won the race.
Yes, yes. It was an incredible effort, but you know, I wasn't happy about it because I wasn't in control.
Yeah, yeah.
That was actually the Dunedin Cup, and that was the last time the Dunedin Cup was run as a trotting race.
Okay.
It's always been a pacing race since then.
Yeah. Now the horse won $135,000 in stakes for you. Not a bad investment for $1,000.
It was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, yeah. And Robert Cameron drove for you for the first 10 starts, and then you had a disagreement there.
That's right.
And he didn't drive the horse anymore after that. What was that disagreement, mate?
Well, he was a gambler, and he was betting on the horse, and he didn't like the way that the horse by that stage had become a public favourite, and he was always more or less in very low betting, you know.
Yeah.
And he came back one day when he'd driven the horse and only ran a place, and he took his colours off in the bird cage and threw them at me and says, "I'm finished." Well, that didn't go down with me because you don't do that sort of thing.
No.
You know? But after that I drove it myself.
Yep.
And that was a pretty rough, rocky road that for a start, because I wasn't a racing driver.
Yeah.
You know, it was an incredibly steep learning curve for me to drive an open class trotter against open class trainers, drivers, owners, everything. You know.
And so quickly, like he got to the top of his game within 2 seasons. So
within about 7 starts.
Yeah.
Because then you're open class, and you know, after 7 starts you haven't got the ring craft.
So you got the headstrong horse with so much natural ability and a driver who doesn't really want to drive against the best. So the wash up of that, mate, is he must have been a very, very special horse to do that for you and set you on the path.
And then what made it worse, that the Interdominions came up only that second season of his racing. And of course, I didn't consider myself fit to be driving in that level, so I asked Peter Wolfen to drive him. And he won the Interdominion heat with him. But Scott Starr galloped off the mark in the final.
Well, he's also got when he won the Dominion Handicap as well, it's a 3,200 metre race, so it's a gruelling race in itself. But that time that he ran, 4:11.6, would have won the Pacers New Zealand Cup that year. So, you know, the statistics that I'm coming up with for me are amazing that a trotter can do that, and this horse did for you.
Yes. And then, of course, after Wolfen went home, I drove him myself. And if I'm correct, I drove 15 of his 29 wins.
Fantastic.
So we did eventually get together and get it right, you know.
And then you decided Australia would be the place to come.
Well, I stuffed my back up carting hay,
and
I thought, well, you know, that's the end of the road for me. And I thought, well, I can still sit in the sulky and work horses, so I'll shift to warm climate and just...
Did you know about Australia or anything except the warm climate?
Well, I had a brother in Brisbane, and I went to visit him. And when we left Christchurch, the tarmac was covered in black ice. And when we got to Brisbane, we were all walking around in shirts and shorts.
And you thought, this is the life for me?
How long's this been going on, you know?
So you brought over 3 horses with you though, and they all won. You sold them all on. Natty Jack obviously was one that
he did the best of them.
Yes,
he won 28 races.
That's a pretty helpful start to get yourself going in Australia and build another bankroll.
Well, what helped me so much is that he kept the stable going, bankrolled the place, so to speak, while the 2 fillies that I bought, because what happens is you bring a New Zealand horse over, you're not eligible for sire stakes. And the ordinary country races weren't worth anything. See, so I bought 2 fillies, one for the Queensland sire stakes and one for the New South Wales sire stakes. That was Chantilly Rainbow. And the Queensland one was Happy Holden. and of course they were yearlings, so I had to break them in and raise them and organise them and get them going.
Yeah.
And once they started racing as 2-year-olds, of course the money started rolling in.
Yeah.
Because between the two of them, they won $130,000 that year.
And those two horses again, you paid $1,000
Each.
So that was about your limit by the seams at Slim.
That's just the way it worked.
So over $1,000 you weren't interested, and it was a pretty good number to settle on with the 3 horses that you. And you were happy to travel with your horses as well. That to me is a sign that you had the confidence in your horses. That I'll drive the miles because I'm going to get a check at the end of the day here. And a lot of trainers these days don't like the travel involved with the horses, but you had no problem jumping in the
One of the
truck.
things I did during my career, I made a major effort to have a good travelling system. And I do not put a horse in a float and then go for 12 hours.
Yeah.
You know, you stop and take them off, give them a comfort stop and so on.
Yeah.
And they will travel much better that way.
Yeah. And you had some different training methods as well. Like I do remember a story with Happy Howden that you just trained her on the open country roads from time to time as well.
Did a lot of road work.
Yeah.
It keeps horses interested and they like it, and also because where I was, it was hilly country, and it was pretty hard work for them. Yes.
So you find all these little tricks that get their fitness to a level where you think that they want to be pretty good to beat me.
Yeah, but not only that, I always work the horses twice a day.
Okay.
So they actually got work 14 times a week, regardless, race day, travelling, anything else, they got work twice a day.
And you think those methods should still be used today? Nothing's changed that says...
I regard it as a basic necessity.
Yeah.
You know, any horse that gets well up into the classes has to be an Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
And it's a necessity to work them hard. And I always maintain, if I can work 7 days a week, why can't the horse work 7 days a week?
Yep.
They don't need spells.
Yeah.
But you've got to sort your workload out to suit the horse that you're training.
Yeah. No. So you could see all that in a horse. You could see if it needed a few days in the paddock just to freshen up. Yeah. Taking them out in the open road, you thought that helped their mind as well.
I regard it as cheating if a horse raced last night and I didn't work it tomorrow morning. But I would work it tomorrow afternoon. But I regard it as cheating if I let it off tomorrow morning.
So if your back was fine and you had the time, you'd love to still be training a horse or two and using those methods to...
It's a one-man stable in today's world is awfully hard going.
Yeah.
You've got so much to do, and of course I was my own farrier.
Yeah.
I was very good blacksmith.
Yep.
And I did that all myself, and I did my
And
own.
that was a key to getting horses to perform
a horse
their
like
ability.
Scott Starr, the trotter, if I hadn't been able to do that, I would never have got to the top with him.
Yeah.
He was a very, very difficult horse to shoe, and of course that set of shoes there is his, and they're the ones that he wore when he broke the world record.
Yeah, because he was certainly a headstrong horse. I know that
he was
still
an
missed the start from time to
excruciatingly
time.
difficult horse.
Yeah.
And it was true for the drivers too.
Yeah.
And any time you see a film of his racing, the drivers are absolutely concentrating on him, and that's what he was like.
Yeah. So the decision to give the game away, how did that come about, and how did you make the decision to say that's enough on?
Yeah, well, I was getting more and more unpopular in Brisbane because,
why was that?
Well, the last 3 years that I raced, I had 3 horses at the races, and I won 97 races with those 3 horses.
So it was only the tall poppy syndrome, it wasn't because
that's right.
of any other reason, it was just, here comes Slimmy's
there was
about to
too
get
many
another check.
people hurting and they were complaining about it.
Yeah.
Because they weren't good enough. Or not that I was too good, but my horses were too good.
Yeah.
And of course I don't bet.
But back in those days, mate, did people come to you, if your horses were going so well, did people ever approach you for advice on how do you get the best out of the horses, or was it just a jealousy thing? Or
operated on the basis that any of the young fellas wanted to know what I was doing, what I was feeding, what trace elements I was using, why was I using seaweed, liquefied seaweed.
Yep.
They were welcome to anything I know.
Yep.
But they've got to learn to handle it. Those kinds of systems aren't just, you just dive in and heave it at them. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You've got to learn to use those things. They're like tools,
Yep.
and you've got to learn to use them. But I've been on that seaweed before I ever started training Scott Starr.
Yep.
And seaweed has got so many micronutrients in it that it puts a foundation under a horse's house or a person.
Yep.
Very big help to them.
Diamond Hunter in front. Winbottrell goes for the whip. Diamond Hunter leads. Trunky Jaguar's trying hard, but Diamond Hunter's in front. Trunky Jaguar won't catch Diamond Hunter. Diamond Hunter wins. Diamond Hunter beat Trunky Jack. Helen's Pleasure is tackled hard by Happy Heldon. Helen's Pleasure, Happy Heldon. Happy Heldon goes up to Helen's Pleasure, too strong. Little Happy draws away. Happy Heldon a half length Helen's Pleasure. Apple Cake probably third.
Much indeed. It's very encouraging to see the mare handle the track so well. We did not expect that at all. We've had runs on the old Gold Coast track with her, and she hopped and skipped through it the entire journey then. At which time, of course, she was a 2-year-old and still nowhere near as accomplished in her trade as she is today. But I've got to admit, it's very encouraging to see her go so well, because basically we came here just to re-qualify her for a standing start, which, as you may know, if a horse doesn't race from a stand, it has to re-qualify every 6 months. So very encouraging to see her handle the standing start, and the track is relatively good.